Hello, and thank you for joining us today for the Buffalo and Western New York Virtual FAM Tour. My name is Laura Burning, and I work with physical production and locations here at the New York State Office of Motion Picture and Television Development. We are so pleased to have Buffalo Film Commissioner Tim Clark and Director of Operations Rich Wall with us here today to take us on a tour of the spectacular city of Buffalo and the entire Western New York region. Some of you may have worked in Buffalo before and can attest to the outstanding experience of filming there. From world-class architecture to industrial panoramas, film-friendly communities, great hotels, a great restaurant scene and nightlife, and of course, the red carpet VIP treatment productions receive when they film there. But before we go to Buffalo, I want to mention just a few things. We want you to know that at the end of Tim's presentation, he'll be taking questions through the Q&A box located on the bottom center of the Zoom screen. And you will find all the important links in the chat box. These are links to our office, to the tax credit department office, also contact information for Tim and Rich. And before we begin the show, we are going to introduce our executive director here at the Governor's Film Office, Yoni Boxer. Yoni, take it away.
Thank you so much, Laura, for that great introduction, and all you and everyone on the team has done to organize these great tours, highlighting the amazing assets and regions that New York State has. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's so great to see so many familiar faces have joined us, those of you who have filmed in Buffalo, and those of whom I know will film in Buffalo soon. As Laura mentioned, my name is Yoni Boxer. I'm the Executive Director of the Governor's Office of Motion Picture and Television Development in New York State. Governor Hochul has made it clear that the film and TV industry continues to be a priority in New York State. As many of you may know, New York has a world-class crew and talent, unique locations, and extremely competitive tax incentives. The governor has led the expansion and enhancement of the film tax credit program to ensure New York remains competitive and attractive film production, and has directed state entities and local entities to support film and TV production and its associated economic development and small businesses. A few highlights. For productions filming a majority in upstate, the base tax credit rate is now up to 40%, including goods and services. New York has new requirements for productions to create and implement diversity hiring goals and plans for employees and vendors. The state also has a diverse supplier directory to assist productions with that. The tax credit was extended for 5 years through 2034, and the annual allocation was increased from $420 million a year to $700 million. If you have any questions specifically about the tax credit, contact our office directly, and we're happy to answer any questions. For those of you who are unable to film in Buffalo and film outside of New York State, you can still get a tax credit on your post-production by using our post-production only tax credit program. As the Governor's Office of Film and TV Production, we support and attract film and production to the state, but we wouldn't be able to do it without our partners throughout government and local and regional entities. Our office serves as a liaison between the film and TV industry in New York State, and we're lucky and honored and privileged to work with great colleagues like Tim Clark and Rich Wall. As Laura mentioned, they lead the Buffalo and Western New York Film Office. Whatever you need in Buffalo and Western New York, I'm sure they can make it happen. They are true gems, and when we talk about film productions to producers throughout the world, we tell them how easy it is to work with Tim and Rich, and they go and they tell that to other people. The New York State as a whole has everything you need, and so does Western New York. Great towns and cities like Niagara and Hamburg, Buffalo, Lockport, and Batavia, and more. Professional workforce development programs, state-of-the-art production facilities such as Buffalo Film Works and Great Point Studios, Buffalo. Buffalo is New York's second largest city, and you can really find anything you need. World-class architecture, great parks, and amazing lakes. I would go on, but I don't want to spoil the great show that I know Rich and Tim have for us. So good to see all of you here today. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Tim and Rich.
Well, thank you, Yoni, and thank you, Laura. This is Tim Clark, Film Commissioner, and we thought we'd take you on a little tour of the location inventory here in Western New York, primarily Buffalo, Niagara Falls area. But here we go. We'll take a look and see what we have to offer. So Buffalo was built many, many years ago, and we have lots of it remaining as far as period architecture goes. First and foremost, our City Hall, completed in 1929. It is a perfect example of the Art Deco style of architecture. Guillermo del Toro found this to be a perfect backdrop for his recent movie, Nightmare Alley. This is the interior of the council chambers at City Hall. It was used in this particular film, Cabrini, as the Senate chamber in Italy. This is the Central Terminal in Western New York here, right in the east side of Buffalo. It is, some would say, as we look to the next slide, the interior looks as though it's a giant concourse that you might see at Grand Central. This was decommissioned in the early 80s, but it is still available for filming. Here are some of the interesting exteriors of the area. This was the old train platforms where passenger trains would roll up and thousands of people each day would get on and off those trains in Buffalo. And this is another area here. This is behind a kind of a demolished old post office building where a lot of the freight would come in and out of, but it gives you a very unique and interesting backdrop, as we see in this movie. We have many Frank Lloyd Wright houses here in Buffalo. This is the Darwin Martin House, completed in 1905, and it is available for filming. Completed in 1899, the Botanical Gardens. The architects were Lord and Burnham, very famous, and of course, Frederick Law Olmsted designed the gardens. It's one of only two Victorian conservatories in the world. The other is at the New York Botanical Gardens, by the way. So we can twin for New York on things like this, as well as the big city looks as well. You see many lighthouses in the region. Of course, we're on two Great Lakes. We're on Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. This is the 30-mile lighthouse in Lake Ontario. This was completed in 1876, and as you can see, it's fully restored. There's a lighthouse keeper apartment right there, and we've had several movies filmed here, but we have so many other great lighthouses, like the next lighthouse, which is right at the Buffalo entry to from Lake Erie to the Buffalo River, and that was completed in 1833. So you see a lot of relics like this from the 1800s and even the 1700s in Buffalo. This is the Great Athenaeum Hotel on the Chautauqua Institutions. Completed in 1881, it is the largest wooden structure in America, and it is something just right out of an old movie, I suppose. But you can make it a new movie here. People like Henry Ford and Thomas Edison used to dine here and visit here very often. This is the Ellicott Square building, completed in 1886. And when it was completed in 1886, this was the largest office building in the world. That's right, bigger than anything in New York, bigger than anything in Chicago, bigger than anything anywhere. It was right here in Buffalo, and it still remains today as a backdrop to your next movie. On Fort Niagara, up in Youngstown, this very period fort was completed in the 1700s and actually sits on the edge of where the Niagara River enters the Lake Ontario, the Great Lake called Great Lake Ontario. And this is a closer look at it here. As we can see, it was used for many wars and as an outpost in many, many different reasons. Another view of the of the fort. And here's the Buffalo History Museum, completed in 1901. It is the only remaining building from the 1901 Pan American Exposition, which was held here. Of course, sadly, the President of the United States at the time, William McKinley, was shot and killed here in Western New York, right in Buffalo. But this was near where that incident happened. But it's our history museum today, and they are so film friendly over there. This is a great building to shoot in. The Dillon Courthouse, completed in 1936, was the backdrop to Marshall, a movie that stars Josh Gad, as you can see right in the center there. And this is a period courthouse that still remains today. The fixtures are there, and it is now Buffalo Police and Fire headquarters, but they've retained these courtrooms for filming purposes. And so it remains for you to explore and to shoot in. The Market Arcade building in Buffalo, again, this is back in 1892. This was open, and it was America's first shopping mall, some would say. It is 3 levels, just like this, where little shops would appear to the left and to the right there in this tri-balcony structure. And it is indeed available for filming. Lots of natural light there coming through skylights. This is the H.H. Richardson Complex, completed in 1880. The Buffalo Psychiatric Center, also known as the Buffalo Asylum. And this is now a hotel and conference center in the main portion, but the unusual roof line there, the tin roof, and just the ominous look of this makes it a very popular place for filming. So we have the AKG Art Museum. This portion of the Art Museum was completed in 1905, and it houses such great artists as Picasso and Modigliano and Jackson Pollock and so many of the great masters that hang here. And then right next door, a brand new addition. This is also the AKG Art Museum, which allows them to show more works, and it looks more modern. So you can get a number of different looks at this site here, whether it's the old look, as you saw on the previous slide, or this more modern look that you see here today. So industrial backdrops, you know, Buffalo was very much a very important part of the Industrial Revolution and a very big transportation center in the day. And so we have a lot of these sort of backdrops. This is the interiors of the Colonel Ward Pumping Station. This is the municipal water component of our infrastructure system in Buffalo. And these are, there are 5 of these next to one another. They're 7 stories high, and they're steam pumps that, and there's only one other of these that exist in the world, and that's over in Liverpool, England. And so these are available for filming also. You can go in and climb up there and get the shots that you need. This was another great plant, Buff Vac. It is available also for filming. You can see there's a lot of natural light coming in here. Of course, when this plant was originally built, the electricity wasn't even born yet. So we needed a lot of natural light into these facilities, and that's what you have here. And these windows are period and still exist today, as you can see here, all the light that shines through them. This was in fact used in the production of A Quiet Place 2, and John Krasinski found just the right look in this structure. Silo City, Buffalo is the birthplace of the grain elevator, and thus we have many of these concrete silos that still exist today, many of them actually. And as I said earlier in this presentation, Buffalo is an important transportation center, and ships would come up our canal and our rivers to these silos where they would offload grain and other natural resources. Well, let's take a look about the sports. We have several things available, including Salem Field, which was brought up to Major League Baseball standards during COVID. The Toronto Blue Jays used it as they played 2 seasons during COVID in America, and that they played right here in this field. So it is totally available for filming, and very much awaiting your crews. This is a shot, of course, of a game with people behind it. Also, we have an NFL stadium, the stadium in Orchard Park, New York, where the Buffalo Bills play. This is a production called Best Man Holiday. It was a Universal picture shot a few years ago, and again, they just opened their arms and worked with the Universal to get this movie shot and done. We have an NHL arena here. You see a little Christmas movie being shot here, and this is the lobby of the KeyBank Center here as these people were heading in to a hockey game, and of course the ice is here and available also. And the Buffalo Sabres, the Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Bisons, they're all great partners of ours and open their facilities all the time for filming. Let's talk about transportation. We have a lot of things available here that you might not even realize. We have available airports. This is Niagara Falls Airport, and it is really like a little backlot because they only have one flight a day, usually, that comes in and out of Niagara Falls. And you see the waiting area here with departure and arrival monitors there. You see a little check-in desk here to the left. You see baggage retrieval here down below. And as you notice, it's all generic. You don't see a lot of advertising signs and so forth, which makes it a whole lot easier when you're, dressing up the place. And here's the ticket counters that are available at Niagara Falls. And if you want something a little bit bigger than Niagara Falls, the Buffalo International Airport, which is a lot busier, but they do make it available to shoot in as well. Here you see a moving sidewalk, and it's a big airport look. The next, we have a subway here in Buffalo. A lot of people didn't realize that. And here's one of our stations. And straight ahead, of course, you see the rail car. It is a subway for most of the ride, and then it comes up in our downtown area and becomes a above ground trolley, basically. And here you see a movie shooting. And the Transit Authority here is wonderful to work with. They're so cooperative. They allow all kinds of stuff. They'll reroute trains for us and so forth just to get the shots you need. We also have a vintage steam train here, the Arcade to Attica Railroad, but we also have a couple of other steam trains in our area that we can get for you and help you get. This is a little Christmas movie, little snow, as you can see, and the crew is happy to see that that train puffing a lot of black smoke. Small town, yep. A lot of people think Buffalo is a bigger city, but what we also have just outside of Buffalo are smaller towns. Here we see Holland, New York. It's kind of a picturesque little place. Paramount used it recently for a little bit of a movie, and they shot in this hardware store along the main street. Akron, New York. This was the backdrop for the small town in A Quiet Place 2. As you can see, it gives you a little elevation. The street sort of goes up and provides a really cool backdrop. These are right out of a Norman Rockwell painting, if you ask me. This is East Aurora, New York, and this is a very popular spot as well, particularly for Christmas movies. Here we see Fred Olen Ray, the famous director, shooting one of those, and Vidler's here is a authentic five and dime store with wooden floors and the old rocking horse that kids still ride on today. So we also have that big city look we talked about, downtown Buffalo, and we've twinned for many, many other cities. And this is, of course, our waterfront, and this is our theater district here. As we look downtown, it looks a lot like New York. There you see a stadium in the background. That's where the Buffalo Bisons play. And here along Main Street, an old classic bank building kind of gives you that Gotham City look. Here you have more of that New York style. Okay, what's next? Oh, and it's a little more modern. This is right at Chippewa and Delaware Avenues in Buffalo, and gives you sort of this modern look with next to some of the older buildings as well. Another shot of our downtown. And yet some more. These are really kind of neat old buildings with a lot of gargoyles and, this Gothic look. This is our electric building in the center, and to the left there was the Gold Dome Bank, which is gold leaf, actually, real gold leaf painted right up there on the dome. And that center tower there, that is the electric building. And then this is, of course, little bit of an overhead shot at night, and you can see that it cleans up very nicely and for some night exteriors. Let's take a look at some natural landscape things in the Western region here. Of course, the iconic Buffalo, Niagara Falls is only 20 minutes from Buffalo. And here we see the finale of a little movie called Mother's Revenge. And they use that backdrop. And of course, a lot of people think Niagara Falls is a federal asset, part of the national park system, but it's not. It's part of the New York State park system, and New York State parks makes it so easy to film here. And they bend over backwards to make sure you get your shot. Here is a movie called All at Once, and of course they're up on top of the falls looking over, and a whole area there was cordoned off for this film crew to do their thing. And there you have that sort of famous shot of the falls. This is, of course, in the wintertime. And just downstream from Niagara Falls in Lewiston, New York, you see the Niagara Gorge. You're kind of actually down in the gorge of the river. And this is also a state asset. This is Art Park, part of the New York State Park System. Another movie here, After the Sun Fell, used this as a backdrop and, found that bridge that goes into Canada and found the changing leaves and all of that. It all looks very, very good. Zoar Valley, the Grand Canyon of the East. That's right. We have this crazy feature here just south of Buffalo. It's a natural landscape that is you see here in the winter, but in the summer it's a whole different look, and it really does replicate the Grand Canyon in parts. So you can cheat a lot of things in our area of the world. Rock City, Little Rock City to be exact, is in Little Valley, New York. Bashira, a Japanese horror film, found this to be the perfect backdrop for them. This, of course, has very, very old growth forest transposed with those big rock formations that you can have great chase scenes through, pedestrian chase scenes, and you can see all the natural growth around. Delaware Park was designed by Frederick Law Olmsted, the same person who pulled off Central Park in New York. So you can actually replicate Central Park quite easily here in the western region of the state in Delaware Park. And, Delaware Park is one of many parks that Frederick Law Olmsted designed in and around Buffalo. He did the whole park system here. So there are elements, the traditional Olmsted elements everywhere in our parks. Easy to shoot there too. No, this isn't the Outer Banks of North Carolina. In fact, it is Woodlawn Beach, just south of Buffalo. It gives you great oceanic views on a Great Lake. So it allows a lot of versatility and a lot of easy access. Again, this beach here is controlled by the state. It's controlled by New York State Parks. And they are such great partners and so easy to work with. And here's Lake Erie in the wintertime. If we're fortunate enough for it to freeze over, you can get all kinds of Arctic tundra looks, as this film did, called Winter's Dream, or 2307 Winter's Dream, I'm sorry. We have a cave here in Lockport, New York, just north of Buffalo, and several other caverns and underground tunnels and so forth. We got a lot of underground stuff here. But this is from Sharknado 2. They used this backdrop, of course, to film a underground lair sequence in the movie. And of course, our ski resorts are pretty close to Buffalo too. This is Ellicottville, New York. And, we have great partners in all of the resorts that close off trails and allow filming to happen. They're just so easy to deal with. Let's take a look at some of the waterways that are available. Well, first of all and foremost, we have the oldest working fireboat in the world, the Edward M. Carter Engine 20 on the Buffalo Fire Department fleet. It was built in 1900, and it still works today. And of course, it still takes film crews today throughout the waterfront area and out into the Niagara River. We have a whole naval park here, and we have several naval ships. We have a battleship. We have a cruiser, and we actually have a submarine. This is the USS Little Rock here. It is totally available for filming. In fact, we just used it recently for a little Christmas movie that needed a backdrop like this. And they are very, very easy to deal with and give you that big, giant Navy look, Navy ship look. and it's sitting right here in Buffalo. And of course, the Maid of the Mist. That's the boat that goes under Niagara Falls. This was a movie called A Man Called Otto. This is an older diesel boat. They're now using electric boats, but they've kept the diesel boats for filming. So if you need something that's a period, this was a flashback to the 1970s, I believe. And the diesel boats were operating in the 1970s, so they had the boats ready for them. And this Tom Hanks movie, A Man Called Otto, shot on one of those boats. So let's talk about how easy it is to work road closures and do different kinds of stunting and things like that. So a movie called Battle Dogs. Here you can see this this sort of chase scene, which ended sort of spectacularly here. We do this routinely here, where it's very difficult in larger municipalities to pull this off. We are able to, provide all kinds of access like this. Here they took an intersection. We kind of shut all the traffic down around it, and they flipped a car, and it worked out very nicely for them. And we do this all the time. This is on the top of the Buffalo Skyway. This was a Google Waze commercial. And as you can see, the skyline of Buffalo in the backdrop, but you can also see that we've closed this down, and we closed it down all day so these guys could get their shot. Those two cars behind aren't actually coming after him. They're part of the commercial. And of course, A Quiet Place 2 found this bridge along the New York State Thruway, and the New York State Thruway Authority was gracious enough to shut her down and detour traffic that morning. So they got about 8 hours of uninterrupted access to this bridge, which was near the finale of A Quiet Place 2. You'll see that in that movie, but we were able to facilitate the closure of the bridge and bringing up all those cars and putting the film crew right up there. And this is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. This led us to close the 33, or also called the Kensington Expressway, here in the bathtub area of the expressway. You can see it sort of looks like many other expressways in New York, but we were able to close it down for 2 weeks so these guys could play around out there and get their shots that they needed. And of course, a tip of the hat to Paramount Pictures, a great partner of ours, and we will close down these streets pretty eagerly. So let's take a look at some recent productions. This one is kind of neat. It's coming out in March of 2024. It's a feature entitled Cabrini, and they took an old alley here in Buffalo, put a little set dressing, and the next thing you know, it's the 1880 look of the Five Points, New York. And here is one of the great mansions along Delaware Avenue, and of course, a perfect place for a period film. This also is Cabrini. They had the horses and the carriages out front, and if you throw a little dirt down on the street, nobody ever knew. And it was really easy, the street closures and so forth. And here is right downtown Buffalo, and the green screen's hiding some of that, and some of that modern building stuff behind. Nightmare Alley, Guillermo del Toro's feature film that was partially shot in Buffalo. So this is a Bradley Cooper in an elevator at City Hall. You can see the architectural elements of the interior of City Hall pretty nicely here. These were really, really exquisite, crafted doors on the elevator here. And of course, that's the exterior in the wintertime, and all those folks down below. You can see we closed off that whole square for this movie to be shot. It's very easy for road closures here. Here's a little closer look of the what as night befell, and we can see what Guillermo saw through the lens. He was using Buffalo as the backdrop, and he set this movie in Buffalo. And of course, you see an old car as the police car in Buffalo. Okay, and here's the front of City Hall. That is a classic staircase. It's been used in many movies. Guillermo used it, of course, but others have used it as the steps of a courthouse, as the steps of a grand government building, and it's just a very popular place to shoot. We have vendors here, you know, everybody says, well, okay, we got all the locations, but can you support it up there? And of course we can. Expressway Cinema Rentals, a large company out of Philadelphia, has opened a facility here, Buffalo Camera, and they have some of the great equipment, Alexa equipment, Ari equipment, and their G&E houses here, and it all just works very nicely because you don't have to bring stuff in from out of town. Buffalo Expendables, another company that cropped up here, servicing the film industry all across upstate New York. Propellerhead Media. They do music scoring, ADR, and they have, you know, all kinds of great equipment there, and they are great partners of ours as well. They're right downtown Buffalo. And D-Post, a great post-production and production facility. You can see all the things they are able to do there: VFX, animation, dailies, editing suites. They even provide accounting resources. They do a lot of things, and they're right downtown in downtown Buffalo. Mango New Edit is one of our new partners coming to town. They will be here in the December of 2023, and they are a post-production facility, and we have several of those cropping up. It just seems to be growing and growing here with companies like this moving in. Talked about sound stages. So Buffalo Film Works is a very large complex. It was originally built in the 1800s to build rail cars, but the owners soundproofed it and retroed it out or fitted it out for sound stages. As you can see, stage one is almost 20,000 square feet. And there's a grid there in stage one. You can see here, this is A Quiet Place 2, using it as, you know, in the green, with the blue screen behind. And they also have stage two. It's an identical stage next door that has, you know, an equal amount of space there, almost 20,000 square feet. They have a vertical stage too, a 47-foot tall vertical stage. The next slide will show that this was a Paramount Pictures used this as a mine shaft, and they dropped an actress down this mine shaft, and you know, they got the height that they needed and exactly what they wanted in the vertical stage. And stage four, this is enormous. It's massive. It's almost 80,000 square feet. It's one of the longest, certainly one of the largest sound stages in North America, and it's sitting right here in Buffalo, waiting for you. And of course, you can see it's all fully HVAC, fully heated, fully soundproofed. These stages are just pitch perfect. The Niagara Studios, opening in December of 2023. This is Great Point Media, and the facilities here are just excellent. This is the finished rendering that we see. It is the exterior is complete now, and the interior is just getting its soundproofing and everything else. It's got a 20,000 square foot stage. 2 of the 5,000 square foot stages also can act as flex space, and there's other flex space and construction areas throughout the facility. A lot of high-end green rooms and a lot of production offices. It's just another real full-service facility here. And it says will be completed by fall of 23, but I can tell you I was in there the other day and it's almost done. And Buffalo Studios, this is an announced project. This will be a large soundstage complex. Hope to start building this in 2024. And it may take about a year or so, but it will be another great facility here in the western region of the state here. Additional notes, we've got over 600 crew members of IATSE, and that includes Local 52, Local 600, the Scenics 829, also the Teamsters 817. They usually send a captain from New York City up here, but they're all local drivers. So those drivers are very seasoned in movies, and then also there are direct flights each and every day from LAX to Buffalo. JetBlue does that. And then we have very frequent flights from New York City as well, almost hourly, really. And so it's pretty easy geographically to get to Western New York. We're only 3 hours or 3.5 hours from Pittsburgh, and that's where a bunch of transportation rigs are from the Haddad company. And also, we're about 3 hours from Cleveland and an hour and a half from, or an hour and 20 minutes rather, from Toronto. So we're perfectly situated geographically for, from other larger cities. So what are they saying about shooting in Buffalo? Why don't we listen in?
On behalf of all of us, what an extraordinary time we've had in Buffalo. We came here because you have the perfect set of locations for us. The approach that your city has taken toward preservation, like this incredible courtroom that we're in right now, was the #1 pull for us to be here. The incredible incentives that the state has put together and the leadership you guys have provided to encourage film production in New York State, especially in Western New York. The thing that we discovered that we're so appreciative of is the incredible, friendly, open-armed spirit of every single person we've met here in Buffalo.
We're enormously grateful. I think that every day we keep saying to each other, who knew Buffalo is like incredible? Like
All the food's been
it's-
amazing.
the food's been amazing.
Restaurants.
The people have been amazing.
No, it's been a great time. Like I have thoroughly enjoyed being away from New York, LA, Atlanta, New Orleans, all the places that we normally shoot in, and coming here. I hope to God that continues for Buffalo, because I feel like it's a thing that people appreciate here. But there's also a talent base here that I think made the film possible.
Experience that I've had with everybody here is everybody loves Buffalo. Buffalo.
And it's just what everybody wanted. You know, I told the people back home that wanted to see some snow, I said, Buffalo is our best shot. The film commission told me that there was a snow belt nearby in a place called East Aurora, and they said that was your best chance for a snowy background. They weren't kidding. And it's delivered 110%, and they've been great. They've taken very good care of us.
Out of Syracuse, Albany, and Rochester. We looked all over the state. We got here to Buffalo. The setting was just right. And then the city, the mayor, and everyone just pushed it right through for us and made it work very well. That's one of the reasons it worked great. We can't close the road like this in very many places.
People. I mean, really, just, everyone that we've met and every place that we've gone, it's just been just really welcoming and supportive and enthusiastic.
Not to put words into your mouth, but what makes Buffalo your new favorite city in the world?
Well, look, first of all, the life in Buffalo is fantastic in terms of the cultural scene, the food scene is fantastic. Two things that are very important for me. And in terms of cooperating with the film office, you cannot find a better film office in the world. And it's basically a sampler of every style of architecture in the 20th century. You want to set it in the 1900s, in the 1800s even, 19th century. You want Deco. You want classical architecture from 1940s. You get everything. And it's effortless to make a period picture there.
Well, thank you, Guillermo, for that little testimonial, and thank you all for being here today and listening in on this virtual fam tour of Western New York, including Buffalo, Niagara Falls, and beyond. With that, I'd like to send it back to Laura, who I think is going to take us through some Q&A that came in. Is that right, Laura?
That's right. Thank you so much, Tim and Rich. What an incredible journey through Buffalo and the western part of New York. You're absolutely right in that Buffalo is an incredible place to film. I think you covered so much ground. We only have a few questions. The first question I have is, does your office have a location library to share with location scouts and producers?
Yes, the answer to that question is a very much affirmative. Yes, we have it, and you'll see a lot of it on our website, filmbuffaloniagara.com. That's filmbuffaloniagara.com. But if you want a little deeper dive into a certain location, or if you don't see what you are looking for, shoot us an email and we'll get you a customized photo package. We don't house every photo that we have in our inventory on the website. We have a lot of it behind the wall, as they say, but we have it and we can send that stuff to you. And we'd also be very honored to go out and shoot it fresh for you if you need to.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, we have another question. Let's see. Question is, what is the film permitting process like for filming in Buffalo?
Well, the film permit process is super, super easy. And of course, we have the city of Buffalo, the city of Niagara Falls, and then we have a variety of other municipalities throughout. And each one is a little bit different, but here's the beauty of it all. You don't have to go through all the trouble. You just come to us and we'll do all the hard work for you. We're pretty much a one-stop shop, our office. The permitting situation, we will link you into the right people if it's something complicated. If not, we'll just, work it out. And it goes the same also for parking and police and in neighborhood control. Go through us, we'll get it done for you and with you, side by side. We're as involved as you want us to be, but we're very effective in navigating the local regulations and stuff. And there aren't really many regulations at all. It's pretty easy to shoot here.
That's great. And now the final question, Tim, is a question from me personally. I always say one of my favorite, if not my favorite location in the state is that Colonel Ward pump station. Can you tell us a little bit more about that station, about filming there? And I just want to know, and I think our audience wants to know, has that ever been seen on the big screen? Has anyone filmed a movie there?
Yeah, much smaller movies, quite honestly, and we've done several commercials there. The National Basketball Association, the NBA, actually did a scoreboard video there in one of the teams. It's a very, very, very unique location. Production designers just faint when they walk in the door there. It's bizarre. And it doesn't really transcend well even on the small screen in front of you here. You almost have to let us send you photos or come out and take a look yourself. It is this gigantic building that has a glass roof, so it's all this natural light coming through, and these giant steam pumps. Now, the last one seized up in the blizzard of 1977. They haven't been functioning. So next to those pumps are some smaller digital pumps, and that feeds the municipal water system throughout the city of Buffalo. The good thing is there are two backups to that system. So if you need dead quiet in there to shoot a film, we can shift the water operations to another facility in the city, and you will have dead quiet, and you'll have the whole run of the place there. And in addition to those giant steam pumps, there are underground tunnels. There are tunnels where manholes lift up from underneath, and so you can kind of pop out of the ground. There's all kinds of other looks there, including a filtration room, and all kinds of weird sort of industrial looking gauges and so forth in sort of this underground lair kind of place there. And also very large garages and, other related facilities, that you'd need in a large city municipal water system. And as hard as it might be to do that or get that in other cities, it's very easy to do that in Buffalo. And the city has a fine mayor who is very film friendly and opens these buildings all the time and allows filming in all of these buildings that would normally be, out of reach for filmmakers. So that is, in fact, one of the more unique locations. And as I said before, it never fails to impress production designers or location scouts who come through.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much, Tim. Thank you so much, Rich. I want to thank all our audience for joining us today, our attendees. And Tim and Rich, really thank you so much for making the Buffalo region such an incredibly positive experience for filmmakers.
Well, thank you, Laura and Yoni, and also Governor Hochul, who is a resident of Buffalo, and she grew up here and became our governor, and we're very proud of that fact. And thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.